Well, Super Tuesday happened, and things didn't go as planned. Thankfully, there are 33 more states to go before the end of this whole thing. But I don't know. I will say this much: I'm done with the Democratic Party. I should have just threw in the towel years ago when 2016 happened, but I held on. Many of us held on. We won't after this. Between the Democratic Party establishment shutting down and moving polling places in Greenville, South Carolina, a stronghold for potential Sanders supporters the day before the actual primary. They did this the day before the primary. And the hundreds of polling places that were shut down in Texas. All of this geared toward undoing any effort we've made, any efforts we've made towards voter turnout. So yeah, the leadership of the Democratic Party actively disenfranchised young and Latino voters, and the supporters of Biden, Buttigieg, and Klobuchar, they couldn't care less because their candidate won. Yeah, they proved beyond any shadow of a doubt that all the criticisms they've made about the GOP doing the same damn thing to them as far as the general election goes, it was all just a put on. They didn't believe any of it. They had no principles. They didn't care about the immigrant rights. They didn't care about the rights of young people. They didn't care. They don't care about the future. And if this were any other first world nation, we wouldn't be in the same political party as these assholes. Yeah. I guess the one bit of good news we can glean from what happened is that Medicare for all ultimately won. That was the primary issue that people voted on. But it's just I just don't understand it. Joe Biden, that son of a bitch, he didn't step 1 foot in any Super Tuesday state for over a month. He didn't deserve any of those victories. He didn't do any campaigning. He didn't work for those states. All that money, all that effort, all that time, phone banking, canvassing for Bernie Sanders, it didn't amount to dickus. It just everything, almost everything was for nothing. We won California, but Klobuchar and just fucking Warren, man, staying in the fucking race and dividing the left after Klobuchar and Buttigieg and Bloomberg all dropped out and gave their endorsement to Biden. I mean, this shit was between all these things, the closing of the polling places, Buttigieg and Klobuchar dropping out after Obama went behind the scenes and pressured them into it, and and what happened in Iowa. This shit was all planned out. And I've got to the point where, yeah, you can see my heart really isn't into this right now. I just I feel really down low at this point. I don't know, between not having my antidepressants and just seeing nothing but bad news coming out of all corners of this world. Knowing that regardless of whether Biden or Trump wins, the environment's going to be left to shit. I mean, hell, climate scientists give Biden like a D minus on the issue of climate change. This is we're we're doomed. If we can't do any, I can't even think right now. I'm so pissed. It's like people, all these assholes, all these centrist assholes that I've been arguing with for the past 2-3 years. They kept saying, "Oh, the young people, they're not going to show up. They're not going to show up." Well, yeah, of course they're not going to show up. Election day isn't a national holiday. People don't have the day off to vote. All these retirees who typically vote for all these centrist assholes, they have all the free time in the world to come and vote. And then when you couple that, you couple the fact that a lot of people from my generation and Generation Z can't take a day off from work to go vote. You couple that with the fact that the Democrats themselves actively disenfranchise the youth vote in this primary. That they actively disenfranchised Latinos in this primary, just so that they could help Joe Biden win the nomination. You can't put the burden on. You can't just sit there and say, "Oh, the youth never show up. Oh, see, we told you the youth wouldn't show up." when you guys are basically when these people who vote for centrist Democrats are the same people who will vote are basically voting in the same people who prop up an economic system that makes it where we don't have an environment that's favorable for high voter turnout. It's not all Republicans. Democratic centrists, they do this shit too. And Tuesday was living proof of it. South Carolina was living proof of it. These assholes, they robbed us. They robbed us of everything we've worked for the past 3 years. And they're just rubbing it in our faces. They have no fucking shame. Centrist Democratic voters have no fucking shame when it comes to the fact that they had to do what Republicans normally do to beat the Democrats. This is just... We need a new party. I've been bouncing this idea around with a few folks on Facebook, and I just... We need to go ahead and just find ourselves a new political party. The Democratic Party, for the most part, they're a road to nowhere. We can vote in the occasional good Democrat like Ilhan Omar or AOC or Rohan or we sorry, acid reflux. But for the most part, let me grab a drink. I'm getting cotton mouth from this shit. But for the most part, we need to just accept the fact that outside of California and a few other states, the DNC, they just and their allies of the state parties, they've just got too much influence. And the vast majority of young people, well, the vast majority of older people, they proved on Tuesday that they don't give a shit about the next generation. They don't care. Somehow we've got to start a new political party. And the only realistic path forward that I can see that would allow us to have our own major party is if we could somehow consolidate several third party entities in this country into one large third major party. Think of it. Think of this. Think about this for a minute. We already have the parallel power structures like Our Revolution, the Progressive Congressional Campaign Committee. We have all of these organizations like Common Sense, People for the American Way, Alliance for Democracy. We have all of these organizations that have been built up in the past 5 years. We have all of this. There's no reason why we can't have our own party outside of the Democrats. That we could run against Democrats and Republicans. I understand that a third party has never really worked as well as at least they haven't been as successful as with the Republican Party being the exception to the rule. But there is a case to be made for one. If we need to take a page out of history here. In the first half of the 20th century, way back in the 1910s, the Socialist Party under Eugene Victor Debs had over 1,200 elected office holders all across America. 1,200. Think about that for a moment. 1,200. That's 3 times as many elected officials as the Libertarian Party has today. As America, the Libertarian Party is America's official third largest party. We could have that kind of success ourselves. Imagine if we managed to cobble together the Green Party, the U.S. Communist Party, the Socialist Party USA, and left-wing Democrats. If we managed to get them all to come together, imagine just how powerful a bloc that would be if we could just overcome our own ideological differences and form our own political party. It would be a thing of beauty just knowing that we would have a party of our own that would at least fight for social and economic change. I'm saying now again, I don't say this lightly. I've been involved in the Democratic Party here in Alabama, off and on for about 15 years. I was the president of the JSU College Democrats back in the last 2 years of the Bush administration. I was the president of the Young Democrats chapter of CACC, though we were largely ineffective. We don't need the Democratic Party. Yes, we should vote for a progressive whenever they do rise up within the Democratic Party, but we need to broaden our horizons. We need to build a larger power base to draw from. We need to build a bigger bench. Our revolution, they have the right idea. They had the right idea. In the 2017 statewide elections, they supported the Green Party candidates in several city government elections, in several municipal elections. Now, if we can somehow get the infrastructure that we've put together, if we can just take that infrastructure and apply it to a third major party, cobbled together from all of these different left-wing walks of life, we could have a legitimate force that would fight for us. We could get elected all across the country. Now, would it work everywhere? Probably not. I mean, there are just too many old guard Democrats who will stick with the Democratic Party for no other reason than the fact that their parents or somebody else have been with them, or because They won't really know enough about us to make that. But in the age of social media, we can make it work. We can get people on board with an actual, honest to goodness democratic socialist party or social democratic party, whichever one's your flavor. We can push for the revival of the New Deal without having to go through people like Cherry Busta and her consultant venue Blacklist and their use of the Red to Blue program to undermine progressive candidates. We don't have to deal with this. We don't have to take this shit off these people. They've already proven that they're not our allies. They've already proven that they couldn't give two shits about our long term agenda. They couldn't care about social or economic justice. I can't count on my two hands just how many times I've had former Clinton supporters and just run of the mill centrist assholes poverty shame me. Poverty shaming, that thing that we used to attribute to Republicans. They do it. It's increasingly becoming obvious that there's a real class divide within the Democratic Party, and that these people have too much economic privilege to ever be reliable allies. They fucking hate us. They see us as a threat almost as much as the Republicans do. And they're willing to take a page out of the Republican Party's playbook to attack us incessantly with all their resources. They'll come after the left wing with all of their resources. I've been saying it for years. Third Way, the DLC, these organizations exist for one reason and one reason only, and that is to quash left-wing populism within the Democratic Party. They have no other purpose. Why do you think Charles Koch funds Third Way? Yeah, that's right. The guy who funds the Tea Party funds Third Way. I left third party politics because I partly because of my disgust with having to fight so damn hard and without accomplishing a damn thing. And I came to the Democratic Party, and now I find myself going back to the place of my birth like a sea turtle. It's just we're just going to have to abandon the Democratic Party. Again, I don't say this lightly because I put every resource I have over the years in terms of donations and just engaging with people. I put everything into helping the Democrats succeed despite all the problems that Democrats have here in my home state. I did it because I wanted to see real change in the world, and I'm starting to see that I'm no closer to seeing real change. None of us are any closer to seeing real change in the world than we were all the way back at the start of the Bush administration, and arguably all the way back at the start of the Reagan administration. We can't do anything with these people. We can't bring these people who keep voting for centrists like Joe Biden and Klobuchar. We can't bring them over into the fold. They've been inoculated against us. They've been primed to hate us by MSNBC, CNN, ABC, their own wealth. They're never going to be our allies. There are tens of millions of people out there who would support us if only we actually had a party that would actively seek their vote and try to get them into the game. And the Democratic Party, they've made their hill to die on, but now sadly that hill has been made to die for us as well. And that's the danger of sticking with these people. when they made their hill to die on. Whenever they make their hill to die on, they make it for all of us. But we have no way, no recourse, no way of reforming the party because they've built in so many ways of stopping actual reform. And to those of you who are skeptical about the idea of a third party, here's my question. You got a better idea? I'd like to hear it. You know, since the start of 2015, I've lost I've lost so many allies on social media. So many people that used to have my back when I'd argue with all these right wing shitheads and Bush conservatives and Tea Partiers and alt righters, but so many of these people showed their true colors. They showed that they were as driven by authoritarianism and tribalism as their Republican adversaries, and they were never in it for policies. They just it's just a goddamn ball game to these people. Our nation, the future of our world, our biosphere, it's going to be flushed down the toilet, regardless of who we vote for. If Biden winds up getting the nomination, and they don't understand this, they truly believe that the world's problems are gonna be fixed if Donald Trump is removed. Yeah, he hurts our sensibilities. Orange man bad. Mick resistance. it it boggles the mind. These people are so goddamn indoctrinated. It's not even funny. Noam Chomsky was right. Any foreign dictator would look at the U.S. media and the way that these people willingly pamper those in power. They would look at it with admiration. If someone like Pol Pot or Hitler had what we have, or if Pinochet or Paz Estanzaro or any of these other assholes from Latin America, from one of those old junta dictatorships that we installed back in the 70s and 80s, if they had anything like what we have in the U.S. in terms of the manufacturing of consent, the use of disinformation and misinformation by the 6 corporations that own 90% of our media outlets, on behalf of those who have power, just if they had that, I could only imagine how long their regimes could have lasted. Hell, Argentina, they're still dealing with the baggage left over from when George Rafael Videla was in charge. So, I guess from this point forward, we have to make a choice. Are we going to continue to just be strung along by the Democratic Party? Are we going to continue to be strung along by people who have no intention of allowing us to have any input within the way the party conducts itself during elections, what policies we run on, and who weaponize mantras and just superficial garbage like vote blue no matter who to rob us of our sense of agency among the coalition, and who do everything they can to take away our right of self-determination, and will even go so far as to disenfranchise our base so that theirs can have an easier time getting the nomination. Are we going to let them vote shame us after what they did, after the way so many of them have looked the other way, while our voters were being disenfranchised in Texas and South Carolina and who knows how many other states? We have to ask ourselves, how much more are we willing to take before we finally make the final jump? Before we finally say enough is enough and just cut all ties to the Democratic Party. Again, if we have a progressive on the ballot, an actual honest to goodness progressive associated with Justice Democrats or Our Revolution or People for the American Way or Democracy Alliance or any of these groups, or sorry, the Alliance for Democracy or any of these other organizations that we've built up over the past decade, then we can vote for that Democrat, that specific Democrat, because they're not part of the establishment. But by and large, we've got to divorce ourselves from the Democratic Party and form our own third juggernaut. We need to create a path for ourselves. We need to create our own place in the political wilderness. And it's just not going to happen with the Democrats. And to those of you who want to who want to stick it out, I understand your pain. I understand your work, your concerns. I've been there. All right. I came from third party politics. I made the jump from the Libertarian Party to the Democratic Party back in 2005. I understand your trepidations, but it's just my question is: are you prepared to put up with this much heartache, knowing that you'll never see change, actual fucking change, because any attempt you try to push for any attempt to trying to ram through reform through the democratic process is going to get quashed? Are you prepared to face that every fucking year under some ill-gotten fear, just some ill-founded fear that, oh, we're going to divide the left if we have a third party, which again, you can't really say we're dividing the left when if the Democrats getting elected happen to be people who aren't going to do anything anyway, and we're just going to push all that grand bargain incremental change nonsense and cut programs that we've been trying to save for decades from Republicans. You can't really say that we're dividing the left when the left isn't even at the wheel. Your move, people. As for me, I'm going to be doing everything I can to see if I can get some kind of schism started, to see if I can at least try to get people to leave the Democratic Party and find a new way forward. Because this isn't working. We need to build a new coalition, a new third political party. We need to get everyone on board who has left the Democratic Party out of disgust over the years. We need to get everyone on board who joined the Greens and other third parties, and try to get them all together and have something that will actually fight for change, real honest to goodness change. The future of our country and our world depend on it. Again, the centrist establishment types, these corporatists, they made their hill to die on, but when they did, they made our hill to die on as well. And this will be the state of things from this point forward unless we take decisive action. We have a way going forward. We have a historical example in the early part of the 20th century that we can use to base our own party off. We don't need the Democrats. The Democratic Party has always been a means to an end, not an end unto itself. But when the tools break, it's time to get new tools. Let's go buy some new tools. Let's go make some new tools. Peace out, everyone.